So UU currently has a No Johns tournament going on as part of their circuit. And what that means is each round is really short. I'm pretty sure it's like 3 days to get your games done. So this tournament is going to be very, very fun. And there's one main reason for that. It's going to be, for the most part, honestly, a lot of offense and probably a lot of stall too. Maybe not stall though, it's kind of bad. Why do I say a lot of offense? Well, when you're not given a whole lot of time to prep each week, people naturally go for a lot of offense builds. And so I got you some games today where there's a lot of offense, man. You got offense there, you got this is 2 balance builds. There's just straight black and white you used here. All right, like, buddy, you just calm down. You got an HO mirror match, but by God, I could not prep any of you for this game, no matter how hard I tried. And you got Psychic Terrain versus an assembling of Pokemon. I don't know what Blood here is doing. Who invited him to the party? I couldn't tell, but you know what I could tell you? A great idea, and that's to subscribe. We want to hit 10K subs by the end of the year. Now, I know we have like 2.5 weeks left, but just think about it. If you're not subscribed and you're watching right now, just go down and do it, man. It's free. It costs you nothing. You know what else is free too? Click my advanced.gg affiliate link in the description. It helps. And hey, if you want to buy something, you can click that link, use Joey's code. Look at that, little 2-for-1 deal. Support both your favorite YouTubers. Now, game 1. Second turn here, by the way, is like the freest win I've ever seen. And it's a bit of a spoiler, but I want everyone to look at this even like, what's the long-term counterplay or the short-term counterplay even? The line in my head that I came up with when I was prepping for this video is I think you like have to lead Excadrill to contest this drill. And just see if something goes right, because like, obviously Drill here is actually like rather strong into this build. It is just because Drill's a strong mon. This team's flying type / ground immunity is a Hawlucha. That ain't taking no damn Iron Head. No, I don't care what you have to say about that. And so my mindset was like, well, maybe somehow you could troll the exchange a little bit. The problem is, Saros' drill is like 95.99%. I don't know why I said 95. It's pretty much always Sash, and so you'd have to burn Terra. Do you really want to burn Terra that early? It's tough to say because I don't know what else you Terra on. Like, I think low kicks checks the teacup well enough. This goober, I think you just have to hope Latios is at full. I think that's really it. Hitmonlee's not a Pokemon. Hawlucha is kind of tricky. I think you're kind of looking at Washer checking it, and if it Terra Electrics on you, then it's a little bit Jove. I guess you got a Nam as well, though, so you got like 2 months there for that. All that to say, I feel like you probably could justify Terraing this. It's just, a turn 1 Terra is always really cringe. And doing it just so that you can maybe spin versus a lead Sash Drill, and it's still not get enough kill pressure to actually threaten anything on their team after the fact? I would say not threaten anything, just not threaten anything significantly enough. I think it's kind of tough. And the other thing that makes this game hard for Mr. Slip here, your main form of speed is this low kicks. Assuming this is Scarf Tarak as well. I'm just not moved by a Scarf Tarak. Sorry to inform all the Tarak lovers in the chat. So low kicks is just going to be completely neutered. I mean, his mon literally can't touch this matchup. It is a dead slot for all intents and purposes. So anyhow, Excadrill is led with. And you do see immediately, Slip decide, yeah, I don't like it. So they go low kicks, which makes a lot of sense because this mon does nothing in this matchup. And then they go for Fimp just to make sure the Sash is broken. They get Rock Tombed and die. But I'm gonna be real, that's the most this mon was gonna do ever. Tracknet comes out EQs, which I don't really like because Indeedee then like immediate Hawlucha is like the freest thing I've ever seen. Like ever. For some reason, though, Seraphs goes for an E-Force, which I guess makes sense because it's Chip. On the flip side, I think you just got Hawlucha in for free if you didn't waste a turn. And to me, I don't know, that just seems like you're wasting terrain for no reason. So now Lucha comes out, though. Gets a boost. Where's the Washer? And CC does 5 million, and thanks to the Psychic Seed, you do live the Volt Switch, because you're not at -1 spit F. And Am will come out here. It doesn't end up tearing, it actually just switches. Lets Rotom die. Because I think the whole point there is just waste a turn of terrain. I think. Because you obviously you're volting always, so you have to switch, and I think you're going back just because they decide, well, I may as well sack it now, because the terrain sack's cool. And then they go Drill, literally just to force a 50-50 here. Unfortunately, though, Slip for some reason decides to Rapid Spin, And they do indicate that they are ass. I've first misread this, I'm mass, and I'm like, what are you going for, man? But yeah, Ironhead would have killed. So now they have to go Latios, burn Terra. Their play was so good, it worked out so well, and they decided, hey, what if I went for Rapid Spin? And you know, it was probably a misclick as well, if I'm being honest, but I don't know. You know, Terra comes out, like I said, probably Scarf. The Stone Edge killing is killing no matter what. Because now Mr. Terrible League comes in and goes for a Rapid Spin, surprisingly enough. And Tarak does, of course, inform it. Yes, I am still locked into this, but it will still do 57 because I am Big Boy Tarakion. As it is forced to be sacked. You didn't have to go Enamorous here because Latios is Terran. And Am is able to pick this Lee off with, I think it was a Draining Kiss? Yeah. Draining Kiss just get back to full, lets you know as well. This was Calm Mind, which I don't think was ever getting enough turns to win this game. Get a little bit of Chippy Chip on the Rouge. Picks you off with another E-Force, as Os is now going to come in. And I guess here you had the Luster Purge, because it went for Endure. The problem is if Luster Purge doesn't kill in terrain, it's so tough, because, I mean, you can't really assume that it's Endure. Maybe on terrain, though, you can. It is kind of a 50-50 there, but it's a 50-50 where you assume the set. I would argue that it's a pretty safe assumption to make, just because on Psychic terrain, Endure is a lot more common on Armor Rouge. Whereas on like a lot of other teams, you may not see Endure all the time. They may greed for coverage. And they may have a Focus Sash as well to try and get that weak armor boost instead. But with terrain, Endure just becomes easier, because a lot of time with terrain, you're just trying to attack anyway, and you have Endure just to maybe cheese off an extra attack by getting a weak armor boost. So yeah, it's like, it's an uninformed 50-50 you're trying to make. And then you even see the damage there from Draco. It may have not even one-shot Poltegeist, because double that's not 100. So there's a real chance that even if Slip Luster Purged correctly and killed the Armor Rouge over 2 turns, or 1 turn, well no, 2 turns because they endured, it didn't even matter, potentially. I know sometimes these rolls where it's like 49, sometimes that actually does double to 100 for some reason, even though like the most optimal you're getting is 49.9, which doubled is still not 100, but I digress. Game 2, and oh my god, I promise you're not ready for this game, it is really funny. So, it's just pure hyper offense on each side. And it's pretty interesting because I look at this team and I'm like, wow, what a beautiful matchup. And it's simple, there's no ground type. You have to Terra the Comfy or Terra the Revavroom. Otherwise, Sandy Shocks is like really, really easy to lead with. And just throw off Thunderbolts after you get your Hazard versus the Mew. Thundurus as well, very, very free to spam Thunderbolts. I've also run like Volt Switch 4 attacks Thundurus on Atro before, it's pretty good too. You get free pivots on that type of team if you're that set. Both of these are just really, really happy. The one thing that I would say Seraph's team really doesn't like though about Slips is that it's lead Mew. And it's just because Taunt Mew makes this exchange annoying for Shocks. It's not really like that big of a deal, but what I have hated in that exchange before is that Mew will taunt you, and sure, you get that one hazard anyway because you're faster, but then you have to spend a whole bunch of turns like hitting it, and a lot of time they're a red card anyway, so you're just forced out immediately. So Mew gets a hazard as you're forced out, and if you're not forced into something that really just can, you know, exploit Mew, doesn't care about taunt, a lot of time it ends up getting so many hazards so quickly, and you feel really annoyed. Now, otherwise, I don't really feel like any of these sweepers are necessarily a god just matchup winner. I think Comfy's pretty scary though, and naturally you see Slip actually lead with the Comfy. I think Slip just not wanting to deal with, actually no, my thought I remember at the time, it was this, maybe predicting that Shocks would not lead because of the Mew angle, and so maybe they go Jugulus trying to catch Mew. Some of this also could just be that they're disrespectful and they want to lead not the hazard setter in the HO matchup. As you see, Slip immediately decides, I'm gonna Calm Mind up. And it's pretty good for them because like there's not really any immediate switch they can go to that kills this. As you see, Scizor comes out. Bullet Punch didn't even one-shot, so it's really funny to see you didn't need to Terra to live. You did have to Terra to kill, of course, but I digress. As Gary now comes in, a guy like me would have Draining Kiss for some very crisp chip, but Slip is not a guy like me, they're a guy like Slip, and as a result, they make the worst play of their life. They go Mew, Wild Bolt Storm. Yeah, I wouldn't blame you if you forgot that move existed. Into Focus Blast, miss to get the Blunder policy. All the while, by the way, you're going to see this happen quite a lot. Into Nasty Plot. Guy like me plotted up again, but that's because I'm greedy as hell. And it kills with a Psychic. And Psychic, fortunately for Seraphs, can't miss. He did remember he should probably run at least one move that doesn't miss. So, as Thundurus now, just keep Psychicking. Revivroom, Shmevivroom. You're neutral to this. Ka-chow. And then he wins. What an amazing battle. I really like this Thundurus set. I thought it was just really cool to see. It's a very cool hyper offense tool. Now, this is probably the fishiest Thundurus you could run, because God forbid I rely on a miss to happen, bro. I'm not doing that in my mental. He's just not gonna sit well with me. But yeah, I mean, Seraph's got the dream red card entry point, and got what he needed very, very easily, very simply. Now, Enzo versus Dunox. Like I said, this is just a black and white OU paste. Naturally, the sets are changed to accommodate for the fact he's playing in Gen 9 now. But you cannot convince me that this was not sitting in their builder as a black and white OU team originally, and then it just dawned on them that it'd be really funny to use this 6 in current UU. And so then they changed some sets. You can't convince me that's not the thought process. Well, Dunox has got kind of a weird team, because I wanted to call it originally a balanced build, but it's not really balanced. It's more of an offense. I guess it's kind of balanced still, because you're relying on a particular defensive core, and then a lot of your mons do have some noted just defensive uses alongside how good they are offensively. So it's kind of potato moment anyway. It doesn't really matter what the build is. My thoughts on the sets, I kind of looked at it as like maybe SD Weave, Calm Mind Lottie, and Inspects Keldeo. But then it's like kind of slow. I don't know if I like single Fastmon Weavile. I guess it helps though that Latios and Keldeo are pretty fast naturally. And if you were to be a Specs Keldeo, then you can just have Vacuum Wave. Get a little bit of extra speed control going on there. No one ever hated that. I don't like this matchup for Enzo though. I think you need Drill to like flinch through the Sinistra to win. Or you need like Tar to get a knock on the Tink, and then if this is like Specs or even Soldu Lottie, maybe then you could just start spamming Luster Purge and break through this. It's just tough because they also have the Weave, so you gotta make some predictions between if Weave comes out or this. If you're flip turn, it's actually pretty decent for you, because at the very least then you could always pivot on the Tink, get Drill in for some Momentum, or even Keldeo in. Keldeo, of course, doesn't really like Sinistra coming out, but if it specs Keldeo, then Hydro Pump's still going to do plenty of the spawn to pressure it. You're basically going to always make it, just have to spam out Strength Sap, which at a point isn't going to do anything for it. Like, if a Keldeo wanted to, like, double pump, for example, that could be kind of bad for it. So, T-Tar led with, Shocks led with here, too. You see here, the honorable exchanging of the entry hazards, as it was ordained by God himself. And then Shock's gonna pivot. Tar knows it can live a hit. It also ends up revealing Shuka Berry, as you're gonna see right here when it knocks the Tinkaton. And very funny that it just donates over a Shuka. Whoever watches and be like, damn, that is like the most ideal item you could have ever gotten. Damn. So, Wash comes out, he's a Gigaton, lets Rocks go up, bolts out, Drill can come in now. But there's literally a Sinistra. So, this Excadrill is pretty worthless until it decides it wants to start SD Iron Heading and just getting a flinch on the first opportunity given. Personally, I believe that this is an issue a lot of players do not understand. You have Excadrill there for a reason, and it is to flinch the Sinistra, so you should simply go for it at the first moment you're given. Lottie comes out though, after the eject button. It does Calm Mind up, so this could be like Terra Electric Bolt Beam, it could be just Terra Steel Standard. We'll never know though, because it decided to go for Luster Purge immediately, and then switch out predicting the Weavile, bringing out the Keldeo here to threaten it with, you know, just being Scarf or having a Specs Vacuum Wave, something of that nature. So Latios comes out, the Keldeo ends up pumping. That is very, very Spectacles. Unfortunately, Keldeo is slower than Lottie, so you gotta go Tar immediately. But T-Tar will live a Draco pretty comfortably. Comfortably meaning that it gets 2-shot, but hey, don't worry about that. And then we see Enzo preserves it as a sack for later, goes into his Among Us, actually ends up catching a flip turn too, so it's kind of decent all around. The Shocks play here made no sense to me. I don't know why Sandy Shocks is the Among Us check of choice here. You just get Giga Drained. And then we see the Volt Switch, because you had Latios, which could have come out. Now Latios comes in, but it's so low. They had a free switch. They had a free switch. I think, right? Didn't they have a free switch, or am I stupid? I guess I am a little stupid, right? They flip turned out. Whatever, man. You could have positioned it in. Leave me alone, man. And now Terra steals, gets crit for wasting my time, but does pick off the opposing Latios, as this will now allow entry once again to the Rotom Wash. It can look for a Volt Switch here. It can just pump as well if it doesn't want to let Shocks waste its time, which it does decide to do. Doesn't do a ton, but, you know, it's chip. Gets a Wisp off as well. Funny, because it's going to be heat-proof as well, so it actually doesn't even take full burn damage. I'm sorry, oh wow, I'm tired. This Paints one was so funny to me, though, because it lost HP and it still lives the knock. Now, it's just glorified death fodder at this point, but it is still alive. Meaning that Enzo does have a death fodder for later. Maybe gives him a little bit of a safe switch in when he needs it. Goes for Terra, fight with his Keldeo, picks off the opposing Keldeo. Very nicely done, as Sinister will now find its entry point. And this is what we're talking about. You can just sack the Rotom. We do not see a Calm Mind come out of Dunox there, as Among Us will now enter. This mod cannot actually touch Sinister whatsoever. I don't know why it switched. I don't know why Calm Mind was not immediately clicked. Maybe it doesn't have Calm Mind. But that definitely seemed like the freest CM of my life. I guess it's fine, because we've all come out, get a double axle, pick off the Among Us here. Because Keldeo now has to immediately come out. Except Excadrill came out, which will not work, because once again, Enzo... Well, no, okay, they do Iron Head. Smart, but you have to Sword Stance first. That's how it works. Only when you're at +2 do you immediately flinch the counterplay. Rookie mistake, man. Rookie mistake. It is pretty funny, though. I feel like that is the most consistent line to ever happen. T-Tar sack, Drill comes back out. Once again, he's just gonna look for flinching. That's really all he's got. So he gets a crit, which is good. And it's being Hex Sinister, which I really hate on this team. I don't think it fits at all. You have no hazard, or not hazard control. You have no status spread. There's nothing on your team that spreads status other than Sinister doing it for itself. Kind of makes me wonder if this was Stun Spore the entire time or something, but I feel like you want to be Calm Mind almost always. Anyhow, Keldeo lives the Axle, but it does not matter one bit because it just dies to follow-up knock. Yeah, I was really confused by this Never Calm Minding, but also revealing Hex at the end. I don't think you're going to have a lot of matchups where this ends up feeling optimal. Like, if this was T-Wave Tinkaton, maybe it wouldn't feel so bad, or like even T-Wave Latios. I think then you could get away with it, but on this configuration, I don't think that's right. Yeah, game 2. Dunox brings what I would for sure call a bounce build this time around, where you kind of just have some traditional pivoting into Mr. Conkeldurr, presuming, of course, Guts. Meanwhile, Enzo's team looks like a very offensive build, and it's just kind of some pivot spam trying to capitalize on Pokemon like Latios, Greninja, and the Hisui Arcanine. Conk in this type of game, at least from preview, I end up thinking looks pretty bad. Just because, yeah, you've got Mach Punch to vibe check the Arcanine. I know it has E-Speed, but it's not going to one-shot you. And the Gren. But otherwise, it's like you're just pressured way too hard by everything. You're slower. It is not really a good time. And in theory, Scizor is pretty good, but you and I both know. I promise you, I said this before I watched the game as well. You and I both know this Scizor is getting burned the first time it tries to use U-turn. This Flame Body Heatran is lurking. It will get what it wants. You will do nothing about it. And it's so funny too, because like, I don't know, Dunox, I feel like otherwise, or other than having this kind of meh Conkeldurr, he's got a really solid matchup. The Tran is going to punish you. Ogerpon is amazing in this type of matchup because it's offense. Ogerpon feasts on offense. And otherwise, I'm like, I don't know if I really care about any of these mods if I'm him. There's a world where if Scizor does not get burned by Tran, it could be kind of annoying. But I think that also assumes that it has CC and can smoke this thing. Otherwise, it's like, it seems gonna struggle with breaking Torn because you don't have any knockoff spread. So if this is AV Torn, it just doesn't care about 1, 2, 3 mons. Kind of cares about Manaphy still, but, you know, whatever. So, as we get into this, Arcanine led with into the Conkeldurr, and I saw Conk lead and was like, what the hell's going on here? He really just wants to get that Guts activated immediately. Goes for a Drain Punch, and then there was no Guts, because this is just bulk up Conkeldurr with leftovers. And that honestly makes it a little bit more useful to me, because that means it actually has some bulk, at least I assume. Or more bulk, I should say, than it probably would otherwise. Because generally speaking, I'm going to just assume you're like max attack, maybe some speed creep, and then the rest into HP. Bulk up Conk can go with some special defense. And that lets you take that trade versus the shocks a lot better. It also potentially lets you take a hit from like Grin better, so, or Manaphy. So obviously, I say all this mon is almost dead. However, there's potential from like preview instead of how I was thinking originally. Also, yeah, immediately punished. But yeah, Conk actually in this type of matchup ends up being more useful than you would have thought from preview. So, Slowking comes out versus Manaphy. You can just chilly out immediately. You can set a Future Sight, T-Wave. You got plenty of things you can do here. As the Manaphy glows its tail. King sets up a Future Sight, says, I have ordained your fate, and it is for me to leave. I do not like this. Get me out. The Zugerbound comes in, and because of this burn on Scizor, Dunox has absolutely no reservations about immediately going for their Terra with the Ogerpon. Doesn't do a lot to Scizor, but you gotta keep in mind that Future Sight's hitting, that Burn's hitting, and overall it just took half its HP in one turn. So now the next time Scizor tries to come in on the Ogerpon, it's just 2-shot by Ivy Cudgel. So, he got all he needed out of this Ogerpon, essentially. Because now it's just gonna run down this team. There's very little that can be done about that. Grin comes out here, is gonna be able to pick off the Tran. Goes for Dark Pulse, trying to see if it can catch the King. And then on the follow-up turn, actually ends up surfing. I thought this Ogerpon play was absolutely criminal, by the way. Like, why ever risk this mon? You could sack the Heatran for essentially free at this point. I don't know why they wanted to preserve. I don't know if they predicted surf. But to me, that play was like the wackest thing I'd seen all day. And although the Ogerpon will be getting its 2 Cudgels off on the Zord to pick it off, as I believe it was Latios comes out here? Yeah, Latios comes out, because it doesn't die to knock from full. So, Drill has to come out. And I also think, I don't want to say that's choice, because like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the time you just U-turn instead. Maybe I was gonna say Respecting Scarf, but it's revealed Life Orb anyway, so. Maybe it's SD, Knock, Ivy, like, Encore or something. That's my best guess. Drill Note comes out on the Purge, forces out the Latios because it does not want to use Aura Sphere on the Excadrill. And then you're about to see a rare sighting. Greninja actually getting all 5 hits with Water Shuriken, getting its Battle Bond. And then as the Tornadus comes out, after all this text goes through, you see this mon do freaking 44. It's like, what was the point of getting that KO if I'm just going to do 44 at +1, man? Keep in mind, that means you do less than 30 without a boost. That's just disgusting. And it, like I had mentioned it earlier as well, this Torn just being a menace, switching into that Life Orb Draco, and kind of having it bounce off. Yeah, these were some games from round 1 of that No John's tour. I will definitely do some more videos covering just random games. Pretty much just because, hey, I love Yu-Yu. It's a very fun tier. And they banned Okidogi and Hoopa. Like, Yu-Yu is in its prime now. They got rid of 2 of the most obnoxious... See, y'all, I had some people in the chat, some little commenters typing, poking their glasses back up to where they belong in their face and only you look on broken. Yeah, well, guess what, buddy? I said Okidogi was broken. I said Hoopa was broken. They're now gone. What you gonna do about it? Huh? What you gonna do? Once again, I'm right, you're wrong. GG. But I hope all y'all enjoyed. Leave a like, comment down below. I don't know, comment down below whatever the hell you want, man. Leave me alone. Catch y'all in the next video. Peace.